Hello, good afternoon. My name is Debbie Jacobs, and I want to do a video, on the transformation of self. What is the transformation of self? And basically, the transformation of self is the spiritual awakening process. It is going from our ego self of negative thoughts, negative ineffective coping skills, and low self esteem. In my case, depression, anxiety, and bipolar. All mental illness exists in negative thoughts, negative ineffective coping skills, and low self esteem. That is the pain that keeps getting passed down from generation to generation because, a child is raised by parents in the ego self, and the ego self is teaching the child, is passing down by pain, negative thoughts, negative ineffective coping skills, and low self esteem. So now we are in our ego self as adults. And the transformation of self is healing our hurt, getting out of our flaws, our negative thinking, to accomplish our beautiful, authentic self. And our beautiful, authentic self is our version of self if our parents had taught us positive thinking, positive effective coping skills, and healthy self-esteem. Because healthy self-esteem is the telltale sign, that we are in our authentic self. And let me tell you something. It is kind of like the caterpillar to, the butterfly. Where we end up in our hurt self, which is the ego self, and then it takes healing to get to our beautiful, authentic self, the butterfly. But what is not like the butterfly is that we were never meant to be the caterpillar. We were always meant to be our beautiful, authentic self. And pain and negative thinking veers us off track, and we end up in the ego self. So the transformation of self is going from the ego self to the beautiful, authentic self, who we were meant to be. This today is my authentic self. And let me tell you something. It is a complete, 180 in all our thinking, all our behaviors, our sense of self, our energy, our posture, the way we talk, the way we write, the way we think, the way we are. And it literally is going into the foundation of our being, our negative conditioning. Our negative conditioning is where all our behaviors, beliefs, triggers, like it's everything about us. It's like our, our hard drive. That is what is running our programming. And basically that all has to be changed, healed, replaced with positivity. Anywhere that negativity shows up in our existence has to be healed, because negativity stems from hurt, primarily punishment, and is of the ego self, and is stems from parenting mistakes. So we really need to fix this for, our own freedom and happiness, and so that we're passing down, positive thoughts, positive effective coping skills, and healthy self-esteem. Because once you go through the transformation of self, and now you're in your beautiful, authentic self, you're going to parent that way. So your children are not going to need the spiritual awakening and to go through their own transformation of self. They are living in their authentic self for the best life possible. And that's the way that we need people to go through life. Not going through hurt to heal, to get back to their authentic self, to live the rest of their life that way. We want to make positive change to ourselves so we can avoid the negativity being passed down. Because once it's accomplished, it doesn't exist anymore. So I'm not going to pass down mental illness, if I had a child, because I'm not operating in ways that create hurt. And even though I had the genes or whatever, which nobody in my family ever had mental illness until we had abuse. I have no history of any mental illness in my family, and now It's like all over the place. I have I have a niece, I have a nephew that is suicidal. I have another, niece that is like, really insecure, and she has like no sense of self. And guess what? Nobody recognizes this because parents don't recognize it. A positive thinker is going to recognize it and is going to see the problems starting. Like my niece has all this negative energy. Well, what does that tell you, right? You know what I mean? But her parents don't pick it up because they have negative energy. So what looks like negative energy to me, because I'm out of my pain, I'm in my positivity, and I'm in my authentic self. So I recognize my niece and hurt, and her negative energy. But what my siblings see is just normalcy. Negativity is not normalcy, it's hurt. And that's an indication that you need to go through the transformation of self. And what specifically is the transformation of self? Let me tell you something. I found this to be the most amazing experience. I put a lot of work into it. It actually cost me $300,000, and I spent 5 years, working on myself because I was committed and determined for my own happiness, love, and quality of life. And so I was willing to take it on. I took on all my flaws like a champ. I mean, I can't even tell you, the level of commitment and determination. I was like a hot knife going through butter. I was plowing through. I was like an unstoppable force. I was getting rid of my anger. I was getting rid of my anxiety. I was getting rid of my abandonment issues, rid of everything that wasn't serving me, myself, being, criticism, and everything my own reactionary. These are all reactionary behaviors. That's it. You got to focus on your reactionary behaviors because that specifically is what you need to transform. And the transformation of self is going from the negative reactionary behaviors, all of our flaws, worry, guilt, shame, fear, insecurity, jealousy, being impatient, being frustrated, nervous, annoyed. We have so much negativity in our behaviors. And that's what we need to address. I didn't have to address all the good things about me. That's not the problem. And that wasn't getting in my way. What I had to address was what was getting in my way. And I learned about ego. There are actually characteristics of the ego that get in our way. Thinking we're always right, thinking we're perfect, thinking we know everything. We don't listen. We want things our way. Me, I, everything is about me. Obstacle right there. That's a big one. That is a big, big, big one. It's got to go. It's got to go. And I learned about, narcissism and ego to help me identify what I needed to focus on. Blaming, being hostile, being aggressive, fighting. That's all ego. I said, oh, really? And these are characteristics of narcissism, too. But I didn't care because in my one life, I wanted my freedom and happiness. I didn't want to get out of depression, anxiety, and bipolar. I really didn't think that was an option. But what I did recognize is that I could work on myself. And I did. To the finish line, to my beautiful, authentic self. And I post, because let me tell you something. I did this healing for 5 years, and I spent $300,000. My father passed away. I was in a horrible place, and I put that money right into my own happiness, which I think my dad would have wanted me to do. Actually, there was other plans for that, for that money, but I needed to focus on my emotional well-being. I was not in a good state. And basically, so I got to freedom and happiness in 5 years, and then I thought, wow, you know what? This is really, really important. And for another 3 years, I created a process out of my own experience. And let me tell you something. I hope that it can be accomplished. It's definitely going to take time, because what we need to do is we need to start, getting rid of these ingrained behaviors you've been perpetuating your whole life, and then ingrain new behaviors. So is that an automatic thing? No, that is with repetition and consistency. So I highly doubt it would take anybody 5 years, but it's not going to be like 3 months. It's not like, blink your eyes and you transform yourself. You know what I mean? It's not like that. It's not like, a 90-day program where you have a total transformation of self in your authentic self when you've had these, ingrained behaviors your whole life. We have to get rid of all that doesn't serve you and reprogram everything that does. And I can imagine it's less for somebody that doesn't have depression, anxiety, and bipolar. But for me, I had a lot to work with. I had a lot of pain, and I was not in a good emotional state. So it's not just, focusing on uh, behaviors and thinking. It is, but it also is addressing this pain, getting rid of this pain, developing coping skills that help navigate us through, specifically through pain, to keep pain out and let happiness in, because I was not operating in effective ways of being that kept pain out. I had an open door come and hurt my feelings, put me down, get me angry, make me feel bad about myself, make me feel insecure. You know what I mean? Like I had no defense mechanisms that said, "Hey, wait a second, I need to protect myself." And that also has to do with boundaries. You know what I mean? We don't practice boundaries, so there's so much that goes into the transformation of self. But I will tell you, this is your one life. I mean, get it. This is your one life, And for people that see this, this is an opportunity for you to make, change that people don't even know is possible. It is possible. And let me tell you something. I have been, committed to helping people out of their pain, even though people are too in their pain to even, connect with my support. I have a couple of people working with mental illness that I'm working with. But let me tell you something. I really would like to work with everyone so that we can all, and not only work with everyone, but obviously bring my work to the proper channels, so that we can really start transforming this world, because we transform the world by transformation of self. And let me tell you something. Let me tell you what the transformation of self does. Transformation of self transforms the family from the dysfunctional family to the functional family. So there's a lot that there's like a dominant, like a ripple effect, when we make change to ourselves, how it shows up in the world. And it's through the same process of healing out of mental illness that parents can go through to keep their children out of mental illness and clear pain out of the bloodline. All through going through this process. That is a challenge. It is a challenge. But just like, a triathlon or a marathon or a PhD program, climbing Mount Everest, whatever, there are challenges in life that are worth conquering. And guess what? that includes us, man, our individual selves. That, is in our most best interest, because that is directly going to affect our own quality of life. And what do you think happens when we get out of the negativity and are operating in the positivity? Freedom and happiness. And our parents never meant to make these mistakes. They didn't know. And it was from all these mistakes that we learn. Because you know what I know? I know that my father wanted me to be happy, but he made mistakes that I ended up in depression, anxiety, and bipolar. So, what was important is not that my father was right, because he was wrong, but that's okay, because that's his childhood, that's his unhealed pain. And that experience, helped me to, reach my own consciousness, to correct his mistakes, because I got the message that my dad wanted me happy. And I started working on it, and I was able to accomplish that. And he also wants me and my siblings to be close, to be family, and for all of us to be happy. I hear, my father's message, even though he made mistakes. And I have another sister with mental illness, and my other siblings that are unconscious. So they're in his mistakes and they want to be right. I'm trying to get them out of, my dad's mistakes, because what my dad really wanted is for us to be in happiness. So you got to give up being right for being happy, because if you think you are right, guess what version of self you're going to stay in your one life? You're going to stay in your ego self, never knowing that your beautiful, authentic self was even an option. And although you don't know it, you are perpetuating your pain. You are. People who can have happiness one day and be in the worst mood the next day. That's their pain. You know, when you are in your authentic self, you're not operating, with negativity. And that is your happiness. Just by, no matter what is going wrong in my life, and there are a lot of things that are going wrong, I'm still amazed to be in my freedom and happiness, because I am free of depression, anxiety, and bipolar. And I will tell you that I had an amazing life. I had an amazing life. I really did. I lived in New York City. I had a job. I was nightlife, shopping, brunch. I had money, whatever. But I was in depression, anxiety, and bipolar. So it's all washed. It doesn't even matter what's going on in my life, because what was going on in my head, created a very unhappy existence. And I will take, an unhappy existence if everything is okay in my head, because I can deal with what's going on. And I know that it's my challenge to have success and make positive change. And I accept it. I accept it for people living in their pain. And I'm sure that when more people are out of their pain, our voices will be louder, and it will, just have more of a positive influence in the world. That's the vision and the goal, and what I hope to accomplish. All for myself, going through a transformation of self. And that is through the process of being wrong. That's a tough pill to swallow, but get a big, glass of water and jump on it. Who cares? Who cares about being wrong? Who cares about being right? That's a flaw. You think that humans are God intended, humans to be right? That's a flaw. God gave man to man and said, take care, take care of this baby. And unfortunately, we have parenting mistakes that have been passed down. It's time to stop. And that takes the transformation of self from your ego self, your mental illness self, your negative self, to your healed, authentic, happy, beautiful, authentic self. All right, my name is Debbie Jacobs. Thanks for joining, and I'll see you next time. Take care. Bye-bye.